Today's webinar is entitled Getting the Most from Your Summer Reading Program, CLA's Summer Reading Outcomes Initiative, presented by Natalie Cole, Eva Mitnick, and Virginia Walter. Natalie Cole is Programs Director for the California Library Association. She coordinates CLA's California Summer Reading Program and the California Summer Reading Outcomes Initiative. Eva Mitnick is Acting Manager of Youth Services at the Los Angeles Public Library, where she's worked since 1987. She's served on several CLA and ALA committees and is also an adjunct professor at UCLA's Graduate School of Education and Information Studies, teaching courses on library services to children. Virginia Walter teaches a popular children's literature course at UCLA. She's currently involved in outcomes evaluation for California's Summer Reading Program and the State Library's Family Place Grant. I'm now happy to introduce Natalie, Eva, and Virginia.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, and thank you, Eileen. Good afternoon and welcome to our Summer Reading Outcomes webinar. Ginny, Eva, and I are here today to talk about CLA's Summer Reading Outcomes Initiative. And our goal is that by the end of the webinar, you'll have all the information you need to start planning an outcomes-based summer reading program. So if you have any questions or comments as we go along, please let us know at any time. And we want to be sure that everyone goes away with all the information you need. Okay, I'm going to start off by describing the initiative and trying to get our slides to work. Thank you, Justin. And giving you a structure for taking part in it. Ginny's going to talk about the outcomes that the initiative is based around, and she'll also give you tips on how to take part successfully. So she'll talk about conducting a community needs assessment, reaching out to underserved groups, issuing surveys and conducting focus groups, and give you tips on doing those things. And Eva will talk about how the Los Angeles Public Library is participating in the initiative and how doing outcomes-based summer reading has benefited LAPL. If you have any questions after the webinar, please feel free to contact us. We want to provide as much support as possible to participating libraries. The Outcomes Initiative is supported with LSTA funding from the California State Library, and CLA is committed to doing everything we can to help libraries begin presenting outcomes-based. If you'd like to attend a follow-up, in-depth, in-person training workshop on the techniques that we're going to talk about today, for example, conducting community needs assessment, developing strong community partnerships, holding successful focus groups, and using your results and more, we'll be presenting a 3-hour ALA pre-conference in June, along with Helen Fisher of Ontario City Library and Cindy Mediavilla of the California State Library. And for full information about that workshop, please visit CLA's website or feel free to send me an email. So what is CLA's Summer Reading Outcomes Initiative? This initiative gives you a new framework to use to plan and evaluate your summer reading program. The framework helps you design summer reading programs that are tailored to your users, that build communities of readers at the library, and that reach out effectively to underserved communities. And at the heart of the framework are 2 outcomes, 2 goals for your program. Outcome 1 is children or teens or adults or families. The initiative is relevant to all ages, belong to a community of readers and library users. And outcome 2 is a desired number of an underserved target group participate in the summer reading program. And Ginny's going to talk more about the outcomes in a moment, but briefly, these 2 outcomes were developed because they relate closely to the successful summer reading programs that California librarians are already presenting, and because they encourage and help libraries reach out to underserved communities with the summer reading program. The initiative helps you focus your summer reading activities on 2 clear outcomes, and it helps you think about the impact that your programs are having on your participants. It takes you beyond the participation statistics that you collect each year. So although it's important to know how many people participate in summer reading, it's even more important to know the impact of your summer reading program on the people who take part in it. So in this sense, the Outcomes Initiative answers the question, so what? What does it matter that 200 or 2,000 people took part in your summer reading program? So we know the answer to that question, and you know the answer to that question. We know that successful summer reading programs foster readers, and we know they create and inspire communities of readers. And what the initiative does is it helps you create those successful summer reading programs, and it helps you generate data that support and validate what we know instinctively about our programs. Data that show funders the impact of what you do, data that tell the stories behind your summer reading statistics, and data that you can use in staff training sessions and use to plan better summer reading programs next year. The Summer Reading Outcomes Initiative is an ongoing project And our hope is that when you start presenting outcomes-based summer reading, you'll continue planning your programs in this way. And by making the shift to outcomes-based summer reading, you'll get ongoing feedback that you can use to make sure that your program stays dynamic and stays relevant and stays impactful. So in 2009 and 2010, 9 library jurisdictions presented outcomes-based summer reading while we were testing the initiative. And they were our pilot sites, and they're all listed on our website. And last year, 14 library jurisdictions presented outcomes-based summer reading and submitted their data to us. And these were our early adopters. Using the project survey, they generated results that showed that their summer reading participants felt part of a community of readers and library users. Patrons saw the library as a friendly place and a place they want to come back to, and they like to share books and talk about the books they read. And also, 1,447 previously underserved members of the community participated in the summer reading program as a result of their outreach efforts. And we hope these libraries will continue participating and generating these results, and that new libraries will join them each year to help ensure that we have the data to show how important public library summer reading programs are. And once we have these data, we can use them to demonstrate the value of our summer reading programs. Here's an example of how the Sacramento Public Library has used summer reading research and data. They give out summer reading information cards at fundraisers to help raise money for the library. And the more outcomes-based summer reading we do, the more information we have to put onto cards like those. So now I'm going to hand over to Ginny, who's going to talk a bit about the outcomes that are at the heart of the initiative.
What I want to talk about for a little while is the rationale for these outcomes, why in California we decided that these were the outcomes we were looking for from summer reading. So we start with outcome 1. Children, teens, adults, or families belong to a community of readers and library users. This outcome speaks to those readers who are looking for a social setting in which they can interact or at least identify with other readers. And at a more subtle level, it addresses those more introverted types for whom the library can be a haven for their personal and private reading habit. The assumption here is that participants in the summer reading program become part of a community of interest. After all, there are many kinds of communities besides the geographic ones in which we live. There are communities based on religions, volunteerism, hobbies, cultural or leisure activities, ethnic pride, or political values. Sometimes a community of interest actually takes on a physical dimension, as with Occupy Wall Street, or the devoted Michael Jackson fans who attended every day of his physician's trial here in Los Angeles. This outcome also recognizes that the library is a public space that contributes to community building. Watch how people interact with it and with each other when they're in the library. You see parents socializing after a toddler story time, kids helping each other with homework or with web browsing, and teens flirting in the stacks. So to sum it up, this outcome places your summer reading program, it positions it as a significant community activity. Outcome 2, this is our outreach outcome. It's the one that moves summer reading program from a traditional business-as-usual library activity to a vehicle for intentional outreach. Every study of summer reading comes up with the same finding. The children who participate are the library regulars, the kids who already like reading and would probably read whether you had a summer reading program or not. So if we really believe in the underlying rationale for this 100-year-old library program, that it helps children avoid summer learning loss, then we must reach out to the children who need it most and who are not already using our services. So this outcome challenges you to identify some group of children, teens, or families in your community that are underserved now, and to design a summer reading program and marketing strategy to reach them in particular. More about this in a minute. But now, back to Natalie for some nuts and bolts information about how to get involved.
Thanks, Ginny. And before I start, I definitely just want to encourage anybody as we go along to be asking us questions, because we do envisage this. Obviously, it's a presentation, but we do want it to be a little interactive. If you have any questions, please do type them in, and we will do our best to respond to them. So, a question we often get is, how exactly do libraries take part in the initiative? So I'm going to try and answer that question now and go through some of the steps you might take to participate. The initiative has been designed by librarians for librarians to help you build on what you're already doing and demonstrate the value of what you're already doing. So I think the main thing to remember is that you don't really need to radically change anything you're doing to take part in the initiative. And all of the additional resources that you might need, for example, your survey questions, your focus group questions, your programming ideas, outreach guidelines, and much, much more are all available to you on CLA's website. So we set up the initiative kind of like a prepackaged program in a box. So everything you need has been prepared for you. So if we think about the survey questions, it's just one sheet of 8 questions. You can go onto the website, click on the link, and the questions are there for you to download in English and Spanish. You can tailor them, put your own library's logo onto them, and everything is just ready for you to download. If you think of something you need that's not available, then please just let us know, and we will do our very best to provide it for you. So to help you visualize the process of taking part in the initiative, I'm going to use the project checklist, something else you can download from the website, to highlight some key steps to take when planning, and then you can go to the website after the webinar to find out more information about each step. So in a nutshell, to offer an outcomes-based summer reading program, you can take the following 4 steps. Number 1, adopt the statewide outcomes as the guiding principles for your summer reading program. Number 2, design programs and activities that are based on those outcomes. Number 3, use our very simple surveys and focus group questions to gather data from users and find out whether you achieved your outcomes. And then number 4, you use your results. So report your results to CLA so that we can include them in the statewide totals. Let your community and your stakeholders know about the great job that you're doing. And then you use your results, especially the data from your focus groups, to plan next year's summer reading program. So to break these down a little bit, I'll start by going through some preliminary planning steps. So number 1, let CLA know that you're taking part so that we can provide you with support. We'll check in with you to find out how you're doing. We'll send out project reminders, tips, and information directly into your mailbox. We have project informational brochures that you can use in staff training and to help explain the initiative to others. And if you'd like some brochures, please just let me know, send me an email, and let us know how many you need, and we will get those to you. Okay, I have one question coming up. At the moment, we only have the do we have the survey in other languages other than Spanish? We only have Spanish this year. If anyone has volunteer translators that could help us translate the surveys into other languages, we would be so happy to work with them and get the survey into more languages. And we do hope to have the survey in more languages in the future. So also, stay in touch with CLA because we're available to answer questions by phone and email. After the summer, we will talk to you to find out how we can improve the support we provide in the future. So to let us know you're taking part, just send me a quick email and then I'll stay in touch with you after that. Step number 2, if your library has more than one branch, this is a good time to decide which branches might take part in the initiative this year. If this is your first year taking part, you might want to start by piloting it in just a few branches to figure out how outcomes-based summer reading is going to work best for you before expanding in future years. Number 3, we recommend that you develop a timeline early on for planning and implementing your program to ensure that you stay on track, both while you're planning the process and also during the summer. And number 4, do a staff orientation to ensure that everyone's informed about your move to outcomes-based summer reading and has the opportunity to ask questions and feel comfortable with the new approach. It's important to do staff orientations. So take as much information as you need from the website and encourage your colleagues to look there too. And as I mentioned before, just let me know how many informational brochures you would like to supplement your training. And so before we go on to the next stage of planning, we have another question. Can libraries outside of the state of California access these materials? Yeah, all the materials are available from CLA's website. We'd appreciate it if you would, acknowledge CLA in your use of the materials. But yeah, everything is freely available for download on the website, and all of that is funded with LSTA funds from the California State Library. So once you've got these preliminary items in place, then you'll move on to the next stage of planning. So for outcome 2, you'll need to identify which underserved group or groups in the community that you want to reach out to. And some of you will already know who you want to reach out to and who your underserved groups are. But if you don't have a group in mind and you need to find out more about your community, we've just put new guidelines up onto the website on doing a community needs assessment that we hope will be useful for you. Number 6, plan your summer reading activities based on the outcomes and plan how you're going to reach out to your underserved groups. To be successful, it's really important to make sure that you plan your programs with the outcomes in mind, and Ginny will be talking more about how to do this in a moment. But just make sure when you're thinking about your summer reading program, think about activities and programs that will help you achieve. Number 7, plan your program evaluation. So decide how your surveys will be distributed, collected, going to set up and run your focus groups, and how are you going to count the participation of your underserved groups. And again, we have resources on the website to help you figure all this out in the way that works best for you. And number 8, staff training. Make sure that staff and volunteers are trained in how to hand out surveys and convene and lead focus groups so that they feel comfortable and everything goes as smoothly as possible. So now you've done the planning and the training, and we're getting close to summer. So we suggest that about 2 weeks before summer reading starts, check in with staff and volunteers to make sure everyone's set and ready to go. Number 10, then you kick off your summer reading program, and around the middle of your program, start handing out your surveys and doing your focus groups. The questions on the brief survey will generate results that show what participants think about the library and the summer reading program, and they'll show whether you're creating a community of readers and library users, which we're very sure that you will be. And the focus groups will allow patrons to give you more detailed and richer feedback on the library and the program. Number 11, at the end of summer, bring together, collate all your data, and report your survey and outreach results to CLA. Again, you'll find the reporting forms on the website. Number 12, once you have your results, follow up with staff at all levels. Let them know what the results were, ask them what they felt worked and what didn't, and talk about how you can do it all even better next year. And then number 13, use your results to promote the library and help you get funding and support for library programs in the future. So that's our guide, our overview to participating in the initiative. And I hope it's given you a clearer picture of the steps that you might take when you start doing outcomes-based summer reading. And please feel free to follow up with me about any of the steps before you start or while you're taking part. And now I'm going to hand over to Ginny, who's going to talk about planning your programs with the outcomes in mind, reaching out to underserved groups, and doing surveys and focus groups.
Just checking to see if there are any questions before I start. Looks like we're up to date with questions. I thought you might like to know that there are more than 80 of you out there attending this webinar, and the 3 of us are jammed into my crowded little office at UCLA, huddled around a computer and the telephone and trying to remind each other to talk into the telephone. So if we giggle every now and then, it's because it's kind of silly. So I'm going to give you some tips for participating successfully. This is going to be really brief, folks. It's hard to really do training in this kind of abbreviated format. We will be going into a lot more detail at the pre-conference in Anaheim. So if you still feel insecure or you would like more training, please plan to come to that because we'll give you the more in-depth stuff there. But here's the overview. Okay, first of all, planning. The main point here, and it should be obvious, but for some reason it's hard to implement, is that you need to actually design a summer program that will help you achieve your outcome objectives. For outcome 1, for example, it may be helpful to think about programs or activities that help to actually build communities of readers or library users. So book discussions, group activities that encourage personal interaction rather than passive audience behavior, like so many summer reading programs where the kids come and watch a clown or a magician. If you really want to make outcome 1 work, you're going to get them more involved. Think about your outreach goals as well. You may need to rethink your traditional incentives for participation. If you are targeting people whose first language is not English, then obviously you need to consider this in your program planning. Will you need to take some activities or programs off-site to reach new summer reading participants? If possible, during this planning stage, involve representatives of those target groups as informal advisors as you develop your summer plans. Okay, the outreach, identifying and reaching out to underserved groups. This we think, is one of the real hallmarks of our program, and what really makes it different, I think, here in California. You are probably already aware of some underserved parts of your community. Is there a family homeless shelter, an after-school daycare program whose children can't get to the library, a local WIC program, a new influx of immigrants? Maybe you've decided that you want to attract 9- and 10-year-old boys, a very unusual underserved group. Whatever group you select, be realistic about the numbers you attract. Hopefully these new library users will be so happy and satisfied with their experience at the library next summer that they will become regulars and recruit their friends, families, and neighbors. Have we got a question?
We have a couple of questions. Okay, we have one from Francisco Vargas. Anybody added an e-survey using the Evance software? I think last year, I don't know if anyone else who has participated is on the webinar and wants to chip in, but I do believe that last year 1 or 2 libraries did issue the survey electronically. And also, Francisco, I can follow up with you later to find out which library that was to get more information. And if anybody has done that, please do tell us so that we can put the information on the website about how to do that. And then, have graphic novels ever been considered for these programs?
Absolutely. Some of the LA Public Libraries did use graphic novel, not just discussion groups, but also making your own graphic novels is a great program and is very popular with those boys.
Okay, we're going to go back to some more outreach. If you've been thinking about your community and no underserved group comes instantly to mind, you're going to need to do some informal needs assessment. In a minute, Eva will tell you how they did this at LAPL last summer, right?
Right.
Okay. Other ideas include spending some time just walking around your service area. So often we just drive to work and you use the same route every day. But get out there at the street level. Eat lunch at a different local restaurant or buy some groceries at the local market. Notice whether or not you recognize the people you see on the street. Take a few flyers or bookmarks with you and hand them to the people working at the establishments you shop at. Introduce yourself and invite them to the library. Carry a library tote bag for instant brand recognition. Finding time to get out in the community is tough these days. I understand that. But try taking an hour before you open. Take an extra hour or even a half hour at lunch. Try to involve other staff members, especially those who live in the community. If your boss resists because you have to cover the desk, have a frank, open, and non-defensive talk about doing the right thing and about the political good that they're laughing at me here, and the political good that can come of being more visible in the community. Another good way to learn about your community is to talk to what social scientists call key informants. Some of your library patrons are probably longtime residents who are deeply connected. Ask if you can talk to them about changes they see in the community. Ask them if there is an organization you might work with this summer. Wangle an introduction to its leader or director. It is always easier to work with an established group, however informally, than to try to recruit new library users one at a time. As you partner with grassroots organizations, you may discover that they have different expectations from your partnership. Try to establish open communication from the beginning. Be clear about what the library can do for them and what you hope they can do for the library. Be sensitive to cultural differences.
So, Ginny, can I just step in there and say, actually, you know, one good group that is a potential ready-made group to work with are community-based summer enrichment programs. And through CLA and a grant we've received from the PACCAR Foundation, where some libraries, including LAPL, have been working with community-based summer programs for low-income children and their families. And there are a lot of resources specifically tailored to partnering with those groups on our website that might be helpful to people.
We'll be talking a lot about this particular topic, the outreach element, at the pre-conference in Anaheim. Now here, very briefly, I'm going to try to encourage you that doing the surveys isn't as hard as it looks. It's the primary way that you measure outcome 1. It's a simple survey. We've made it shorter because of feedback we've gotten from previous participants. Just 8 questions. And we ask you to try for 100 surveys. usually probably from the first 100 children or teens to finish. If you're a small library and don't have 100 participants, just get as many as you can. These surveys are on the web in English and in Spanish, and maybe we'll get some volunteers that can help us get some other languages as well. So one tip for managing the surveys, for just finding the time to actually distribute them, is to get your teen volunteers to help you both distribute them and calculate the results. Okay, let's talk very briefly again about the focus groups. We ask that you do focus groups, 2 for each participant group, to get insights about how the summer reading participants responded to your library services in general and the summer reading program in particular. Librarians who conducted focus groups have found that these really yield invaluable information, especially for outcome 2. Remember, people really like to be asked for their opinion, and of course the focus group questions that have worked for everybody are on the website. If you're having trouble getting people to come to a focus group, although I don't usually find this to be a problem, you can make it seem like a special activity, issue a special invitation, or even make it part of, make it a formal summer reading program activity. Serving food is always a good idea, and I have found that no matter what age the participants are, from toddlers to senior citizens, it's good to give them something to do with their hands. Markers, wiki sticks, Play-Doh, anything to help them fidget while they're listening. It seems to help them, strangely enough, focus. Okay, if you still feel a little unsure about this, plan to attend the ALA pre-conference on Friday, June 22nd in Anaheim. And now Eva will tell you how they actually did it, their first experience with the Outcome and Outreach-based summer reading program last year.
Hi everyone, I'm Eva at the LA Public Library, and first of all, just a little bit of background on LAPL. We've got 72 branches all over the city of Los Angeles, plus our big central library, and at every single one of these branches and central we have children's and teen librarians, and we have offered both children's and teen programs, summer programs, for many decades.
We've got a question about the particular age groups that are targeted in the focus groups. The question is, are these broadly defined, like just children or teens, or more precisely defined? And actually, they're pretty broadly defined. We're just suggesting that you get a representative group from each of the age groups that you're targeting in summer reading.
I think what we do say is, for example, if you are running a children's summer reading program, you might want children of similar ages in the same group. And you're doing teens, so you wouldn't mix up children and teens. And also you might want to think about which children are you targeting, which ones do you want the information from. You know, 1 year you might focus on 5- and 6-year-olds. And who you want this information from, really. Right.
The decision that you're going to make is, are you going to try for that age group that has the most participants? That's usually, what, 8, 9-year-olds? Or are you going to try to get the children who are less likely to participate to find out why or why not? It really depends on what you're trying to learn from the focus groups.
Alrighty, back to LAPL. Well, like many of you, we've been collecting statistics for many, many years, mostly output measures. For instance, we've been collecting how many kids signed up for the Reading Club at all, how many programs we offer, how many kids come to those programs, and so on. And those were valuable numbers and still are valuable numbers. But we wanted to know more. And we started thinking about the reasons we offer the summer reading program. And we have basically 3 purposes in mind. First one is to encourage kids and teens to read for pleasure. Second, encourage families to see the library as a fun and welcoming place. And 3, to attract non-library users to the library. And of course, these sound very familiar. They work perfectly with CLA's outcomes. Our numbers 1 and 2 combine to make CLA's number 1 outcome about a community of readers. And of course, our number 3, the attracting non-library users, is CLA's outcome number 2. So CLA's Outcomes project worked perfectly for us. And we need to be thinking about these reasons when we plan and promote the summer reading program. encouraging kids and teens to read for pleasure and encouraging families to see the library as a fun and welcoming place. Well, that's really what Summer Reading Club has been about for decades for the LA Public Library, and we think that we've been doing a good job. Folks seem very happy with us. They seem to love the Summer Reading Club, but we wanted proof. We wanted to know exactly what they thought about the library. And of course, for outcome number 2, attracting non-library users to the library, we really needed to do some strategic thinking. Who were the non-users in the community? Where do we find them? How do we tell them about the Summer Reading Club? How do we get them to participate? And what we found is that thoughtful outreach is better for busy librarians. Really thinking about how to achieve these outcomes meant actually less work for us, really, because we are actually focusing our work. For instance, instead of perhaps going to every single school and talking to every single kid to come to our Summer Reading Club, I have a question actually. Can you please repeat your goals? And I think you mean those 3 that I mentioned. They're really more purposes, but encourage kids and teens to read for pleasure, encourage families to see the library as a fun and welcoming place, and those 2 combine to make the CLA outcome number 1. And finally, attract non-library users to the library. So those were our 3.
And I want to say that Eva's put all her notes into the PowerPoint. So if you go to InfoPeople's website to access the presentation later, you can see all those written out.
Yes. So imagine, instead of having to visit every single school, you know you're targeting one particular group. Maybe it's a particular school that never comes to your Summer Reading Club, or perhaps it's a particular grade level, 4th and 5th graders. You could concentrate on doing outreach to that school or those grades. You know who already comes to your library, so maybe you don't need to expend so much effort telling them every year again and again about your library Summer Reading Club. They're going to come already. Maybe there's families from a local housing project you really want to participate in your library. Well, go to them. Expend the effort on that housing project to get them to come to the Summer Reading Club. And remember to not only use your outreach, but also the program itself to attract your targeted non-users. If you want more Spanish speakers, make sure your Summer Reading Program materials are available in Spanish, and that you have Spanish language books and DVDs, and that perhaps someone on your staff speaks Spanish. You want more boys? Better have some cool programs to attract them, those graphic novels programs, Lego programs, gaming. Possibilities are endless. All right, so outcome 1, we used the CLA survey that was available on the website. We did add some of our own questions because we actually had a few other things we wanted to look at. We used a combination of statistics and surveys to measure outcome 1. Because of the way our reading club was run in 2011, we were able to keep track of how many minutes kids read. And though we didn't have data from previous years to compare it to, it was obvious that kids were indeed reading for fun, and that's what we wanted them to do. And of course, we also administered the CLA survey, and we learned that we get lots of repeat kids, but it was the first year for many kids and teens. The most popular answer to the question, which of the following words describe your library, was, the library is a place to find books to read, which made us very happy. Turns out from the survey that both kids and teens like to talk about and share the books they read, and both kids and teens love the Summer Reading Program. So we didn't have to guess anymore. The CLA survey proved that to us. We added our own questions at the end, and these included, how often do you use the library during the summer? And it turned out that 54% of kids and teens come once a week. We also asked, do you think you will come back to the library during the school year? And almost 93% of kids and teens said yes, and that was very good news for us because we want these kids coming to us year-round. And to complete the sentence, my favorite thing about the Summer Reading Program is 45% of kids chose reading for fun. That was their most popular answer, which is really cool. The teens, 36% of them chose reading for fun. That was the second best answer. And their most popular answer with 43% of teens was they liked the free programs the best. So these were all fascinating, information. And by the way, we did not require that each of our branches turn in 100 or collect 100 surveys. We decided that because we were such a large library system and many of our branches are very small and have difficulty collecting the surveys, that we would just ask for as many as possible. And we ended up with thousands of surveys altogether, so that seemed to work for us. All right, for outcome 2, we asked all of our children's and YA librarians in each one of our branches to choose, with feedback from their branch managers, an underserved group in their communities. And I really highly recommend that youth librarians do this as a group in their branches with all of the professional staff and even maybe the entire staff at a staff meeting. Everybody can talk about what the community is composed of, who are the people out there not coming to the library. I think that this should really be a whole branch activity and not just isolated to the children's librarian, the YA librarian. All right, we asked our librarians to come up with a number of that group that they hoped would join the summer reading program. As Junie said, this can be a modest number. And I personally wanted to know why that group was chosen, so I asked them that as well. And finally, we asked the plan to achieve that goal. So what kind of outreach, what kind of programs, what was the plan? What I found is that wishful thinking isn't enough. To actually get an underserved group to participate in summer reading, librarians have to, first of all, make sure the reading program itself has elements that appeal to the chosen group. And of course, number 2, go out in the community and tell that group about it. So we measured this outcome by using registration statistics, first of all. This was particularly useful if the underserved group was from a particular school or was a particular gender or an age or a particular age or grade, because these are bits of information that we collected when we registered kids, so it was easy to see. We also used observation. We had librarians see who was coming to their programs, who was in their branch, and this was necessary if the underserved group was, say, a certain language-speaking group or some other kind of group for which we did not collect statistics. And finally, if the group chosen was an organization or some kind of self-contained group, for instance, kids from the local park day camp, then the librarian could actually bring the summer reading program to that site by bringing game boards, holding story time, dropping off books, and it's very easy to count the participants in this case. Alrighty, how many surveys approximately did LAPL receive? I actually have that exact number somewhere in my folder right behind me, and so at the very end I'll fish through and find out. But it was thousands. It was many thousands. It took us a long time to collate. But I will look that up, Francisco. Or, yes, Francisco. Okay. So what were our results with outcome 2? They were mixed. Some librarians achieved the goal that they had set for themselves, and some didn't. Now, 6 of our 72 branches were chosen to be pilot branches, and this meant that the children's and YA librarians at these 6 branches received extra training and made an extra effort with outreach, program planning, collection of surveys, and conducting focus groups. So it was more intense. These 12 librarians almost all achieved their targeted goals. Even those who didn't learned a lot about the kids and teens in their communities. Some of their goals included 40 teens between 15 to 18 years of age, 15 families from a family center, 20 teens from a residential drug program, 20 students from Cochrane Middle School, 15 students from St. Odelia School. All right. Now, as I said, outcome 1, we learned we have a lot of love. They love us out there, which we pretty much knew, but again, we have proof. Outcome 2, again, the results were mixed. And those branches that met their goals did 3 things very well. They really worked hard and put a lot of thought into actually identifying the underserved group, so they chose a group with a lot of mindfulness after talking with their branch staff and observing their community needs assessments. They also designed a summer reading program that had relevance and appeal to their chosen group. And finally, they targeted their outreach accordingly, so they did very good outreach. Our 6 pilot branches put extra effort into these things and were rewarded. All right. In terms of lessons learned, what I realized is that I needed to give more time for training and discussions on outcome-based planning. It's very clear that this is a different way of thinking for people, and it requires a lot of talking and really learning how to do it. So we are actually setting aside 2.5 hours of in-person summer reading club training this year so we can do a little bit more work on this. And we also learned that it's not just about outreach. I think last year we really focused on the outreach portion of this and didn't emphasize the actual what's going on in the branch, which is just as important, maybe even more important. You need to tailor that program to match the goals that you have. One great example of this, just to mention one, is the Arroyo Seco branch of the LA Public Library. The YA librarian wanted to get 40 older teens to participate in her teen reading club. Now, if you've ever conducted a teen reading club, you know it's really hard to get the older teens in. They have no interest in little game boards and marking off minutes read. It's just not going to happen. So, knowing this, the YA librarian decided to broaden the definition of participation. What does participation in the summer reading club mean? Well, at Arroyo Seco, it meant volunteering for the summer reading club. So she designed a volunteer program that included helping sign kids up for summer reading, helping out with programming, and more. And then she talked to administrators at her local high schools, pushing her reading club as a way for teens to get community service hours and also meaningful library work experience. And the administrators were thrilled, and they helped her promote the program to students. And she did get over 40 older teens to sign up for her club and volunteer in the library, which really helped the children's librarian, too, who, by the way, also met her goals. So it's not exactly traditional participation, but it's a great way to involve teens in summer library activities, which is exactly what she wanted. And some of those teens have actually stayed on to participate in Teen Council and other volunteer activities. So just think outside the box a little bit. All right, benefits. Oh, there were so many benefits, but to keep it very brief, we all got to practice a new and valuable way of thinking. Outcome-based planning and measurement is here to stay. It's more important than ever, and this got us thinking about what kind of outcomes we want and how to achieve them. And it really made us think about our summer reading club in a different way. What are our goals? How do we get them? It also meant that it's not just about children's and YA librarians anymore, but the entire branch. The branch managers got involved. The area managers learned all about it, and they became very interested in what underserved groups their branches were choosing. It got everybody thinking more about those underserved communities, which is a big push at LAPL. And finally, we got so much data. We got data from our surveys, from our focus groups. We used them to make reports for our administration, for our donors, for our Board of Library Commissioners. And of course, best of all, we have this huge amount of data that we can use in planning a great 2012 summer reading program. So we are glad we did it, and we are going to do it again in 2012 and beyond. Thank you.
Thanks, Eva. So that is the end of the main bit of the presentation. If anybody has some questions, we are here to, would you please put up slide 3 your contact information again at the end? Yes, we would, absolutely. And we can just do that right now so that you can all up with us.
Trying to avoid dead air time here. There it is.
There's our slide. I don't know if anybody saw, I think it's the most recent issue of Library Journal. There's an editorial and an article about the importance of outcomes-based planning and a lot of the work that we're doing, and that's a very interesting read. So, and I do want to give another push to the ALA pre-conference. We've mentioned it a few times now, but what we can provide there that we can't do in a 1-hour webinar is the in-person, in-depth training about how to do the techniques that we've been talking about here, how to do them successfully so that your summer reading, outcomes-based summer reading programs are the best summer reading programs they can be.
I'd like to encourage you again to look at the summer reading program website on the CLA website. Natalie has done a phenomenal job of pulling together information, how to do it kinds of things, background information. If you're the kind of person who learns from reading, it's all there.
Oh, and by the way, I did find my information about how many surveys we received, and it's almost 3,000.
Oh, the cost for the pre-conference, we've been asked. I think it's $149.
$149, yeah.
And it's Friday afternoon.
1 to 4. It'll be a solid 3 hours of training in doing these techniques. And we'll be joined by 2 other presenters, Helen Fisher, she's Library Director of Ontario City Library, and Cindy Mediavia of the California State Library. Okay, ever consider doing a themed summer reading project? I think you can do your outcomes-based summer reading program using the statewide theme that you would use anyway, and I think you can tailor all the ideas that we give at the general summer reading training program. You can tailor those ideas to the outcomes. The way we designed the Outcomes Initiative was so that it really would be an initiative that would demonstrate the value of what we know that you're already doing. So most of the ideas that you hear at the reading workshop, and all the videos from the training workshop are all available online right now. The videos, the PowerPoints, and the handouts on CLA's website. So you can look at all those programming ideas and tailor those ideas to the outcomes and to creating a community of readers and to reaching out to your community. On the website, are there some of the ideas mentioned to target and bring some underserved groups to participate in the summer reading program? Yes, there are. We have a section on reaching out to underserved communities, and if you don't see enough ideas there, please do email me and let me know, and we will get some more ideas up there for you.
It's also the kind of thing that we're really going to work on at that pre-conference, brainstorming ideas for particular communities, because every community is a little different.
And it'll be a very interactive workshop, so we'll all be talking together as part of the training.
And there's another question. I'm wondering if there are limited numbers of Summer Reading Club performers who are representative of underserved populations. I think this would bring in many of our non-library users. That's a great idea. There are actually, I know there are lists of performers out there with many different kinds of performers, and certainly you could use them to bring in particular populations. But I think this would be a good opportunity also to use your partnerships in your community. It's very possible that you might find an organization out there who can provide some kind of program for you to have in your library, whether it's an arts and crafts program based on a particular culture, music, storytelling, family storytelling, maybe cooking. You could have everyone bring in their favorite dish or a favorite recipe from their culture. There's all kinds of things you can do that doesn't even cost any money.
And that would help to create that community of library users.
And Heather has asked, can we have the link for the needs assessment? I tried looking for it and didn't see it. Okay, so if you go to, I'm going to have to do this without being able to access the page, but if you go to the CLA website, go under Resources, Summer Reading Program, click on Outcomes, and then once you're within the Outcomes section, on the right-hand bar, there'll be another menu option saying Resources, and then all of the resources are there. And there is a page on reaching out to the community that has been put up. I think we put that up in December. So it's new. If you don't find it after that, please do email me. But it's definitely there within the Outcome section. Go to Resources and everything.
All right. Do we have any other questions? While we're waiting, I just wanted to say one more thing about focus groups. Only our 6 pilot branches actually did focus groups, and even not all of them did it. Actually, I made it voluntary. But I just want to say that the branches who made that extra effort and did do focus groups found that, first of all, it wasn't as hard as they thought it would be. I mean, it's a kind of a scary idea, but they found that it was actually quite easy and fun. And they had a blast. They got the most interesting information and got responses they never dreamed they'd get about what kids thought about the library and so on. So I do think that that is a valuable thing. It's not really required, I guess you could say, as part of CLA outcomes. They don't ask for the...
Oh, yes, we do.
Sorry, we never turned. I guess I only turned in the questions for people who did it. But all right, forget I said that.
Yeah, we strongly encourage everybody
Highly
to do
recommended.
and the focus group. What we don't do, we don't require people to submit the results of the focus groups.
There you go.
That's, I think, where the confusion is lying, because the focus groups are designed for you to generate specific local data about your summer reading program, about what your patrons think of what you are doing, and all that information is specific to you. So while we do strongly encourage that you do the focus groups as part of the whole program, we don't require that you send your focus group data back to me.
And
yeah, got it.
That's where you get those quotes that you then report to your library director and your board of library commissioners and your funders, because the children and teens and mothers of preschoolers love you and will give you some really interesting reasons for why they love you.
All right, I actually have a few of our focus group results here that I just wanted to share with you, kind of looking through to see some of the fun ones. For instance, one of the questions is there anything else you can tell me that will help me understand how you feel about the library's summer reading program? How can we make it work better for you? So that was an official question. And kids had apparently lots of discussion. Kids can help publicize with ads and flyers, remove fines, have a party at the end, book reviews, give out free books, tell more people about library holds. So it showed kids were really thinking, and they had some good ideas.
I've been intrigued with how much children like being able to reserve books online and come in and pick them up when they're ready. They love it.
Also, I have here a quote from one of the librarians who participated in the pilot project about doing focus groups. So I know people in her library were a little daunted about the idea of doing focus groups, but that turned out to be the best part of the project. The two focus groups we did for teens were a lot of fun. We learned a lot about them, and they in turn discovered new library resources. So it can go both ways. I think, yeah, people do enjoy doing the focus groups once you get over that hurdle of feeling confident enough to do it in the first place. How many surveys did IPR receive? But you answered that one,
yes,
right?
Almost 3,000.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it for us.
I think we're done, unless any last questions come in.
I do want to say thank you very much to InfoPeople for hosting this webinar, and Chuck, Eileen, and Stanley for being great support for us here. So thank you very, very much.
It's a lot of fun. Thanks for attending.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for joining the webinar. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to be in touch with us directly.
Okay, bye.